Good evening. This particular session is going to be all about opening the Pandora box of prelims. Now, when you look at this particular stage of the exam, it is the first stage for you to realize the dream of becoming a civil servant. But most of the aspirants face difficulty in overcoming this particular stage of the exam. Now, when you look at this particular stage of the exam, it becomes an extremely difficult stage because one, the numbers. When you look at the numbers, you have multiple applications coming in, but at the final, on an average, you would have 10,000 aspirants appearing for the mains. So, it's a proportion of a success rate roughly 2.1%. Now, when you look at the second difficulty that generally students face when clearing this particular exam is randomness. Now, when you observe something called as randomness curve vis-a-vis the years of your CSC prelims. Now, say if I am starting at 2015, the randomness of the paper was something like this. Now, when it suddenly started to increase and by the time it reached 2020 and 2021, you would find the exam is becoming more random. Now, does these factors of UPSC prelims make it impossible to clear? No. It is a big no, provided you have a clear strategy. Because the exam is purely on the basis of a set strategy. Now, when you look at this particular set strategy, it is a threefold process. Now, if you are able to follow this threefold process religiously and if you are able to stick to the guidance, I think prelims is a cakewalk. Now, when you look at the algorithmic approach for prelims, it is of three stages. The first stage would constitute the basic knowledge. The basic knowledge that you acquire from your basic books. Now, these basic books are NCERT. For that case, the Lakshmikant. For polity, right? For economy, some other book which has been stated. This is the first stage which is extremely important. And for you to master this particular step, the key is revision. The key is revision. Apart from this, once you are able to acquire this particular knowledge, once you are able to reinforce your knowledge mechanism or your knowledge base with the revision, the second important step that appears here is testing your knowledge. Testing your knowledge. This particular testing of knowledge is directly proportional to the quantum of practice. How much you are practicing. Now, for this stage of examination, the practice is how many number of MCQ questions are you solving. Now, the fundamental reason why we need to emphasize on solving or we need to emphasize on testing what you have learned is gaining acquaintance with number of concepts. Now, once you are acquainted with the number of concepts, it becomes or you acquire that particular ease in the examination. And the third most important step is learning from the mistakes. Learning from the mistakes. Now, as a process of testing, as a process of practice, we make a number of mistakes. When we are practicing a particular test, we make a number of mistakes. And learning from those mistakes is extremely important. Right? Now, this is basic preparation strategy for your prelims. Now, on top of it, you would see that in the recent past, there are certain changing dynamics with respect to the examination. Now, this changing dynamics, it is directly proportional to the amount of randomness that is being increased in the examination. Now, because of this randomness, prelims becomes extremely difficult. Now, this changing dynamics, for example, you would see in 2021, they have come back to asking about sports questions. This was a trend that was somewhere in 2005, 2006 or prior to 2011 when the pattern has changed. But now again the UPSC has made a comeback. Now this is one changing trend. The other changing trend could be, you would see a phenomenal change, especially with respect to polity. Polity, it used to be a ritual for everybody to read Lakshmikant, to by heart Lakshmikant, to get acquainted with Lakshmikant, so that you will be able to solve the 20-25 questions that appear as part of your prelims. But suddenly you would see that this particular source or this particular basic book is being changed. You would see this, there is a shift from polity to political theories. Now, if you talk about stats, in 2020, there were 3 questions on political theories. In 2021, there were 5 questions on political theories, which indicates that UPSC is going one step ahead. Right? Now, looking at the taste of this dynamics, the other important aspect that comes is, why do prelims become a big blockade in UPSC preparation or in the journey of UPSC? Now, whatever we discussed in the initial stage, the 3-step approach, the knowledge, the practice, and learning from mistakes. If you are missing out on any of these steps, if you are not revising your basic books, if you are not practicing enough MCQs, or if you are not learning from the mistakes, what you end up doing is something called as, where most of the aspirants crib about, that is your silly mistakes. Now these silly mistakes might appear very silly, but you need to understand that the difference between an aspirant who is clearing prelims and the aspirant who is not clearing prelims, the fundamental difference or the number of questions that are differing is hardly 3 questions. Now, when you find that the question difference is hardly 3, and those 3 questions are mostly silly mistakes. And the fundamental reason behind these silly mistakes is the mindset of the aspirant. We think that UPSC is very deceptive. UPSC, although it tries to make the paper very simple and ask certain fundamental questions, it might appear to the aspirants, "Arey Babu, this fellow is asking something different." And you are in a deceptive feeling and you make certain silly mistakes, where you come out of the examination hall saying, "Arey, I made 3 silly mistakes," which will waste one solid or one valuable year in your life. Now, for example, now in 2021 prelims, now whichever questions I am going to scroll down on the screen, you would see that most of the aspirants have made a mistake in these questions. Now, these are one-liner questions, Ace 2. During the pandemic, we have been seeing this. And you see, the assumption of UPSC being deceptive is clear here, because the correct option is given in D. D is the correct option. Most of the people have marked either 1 or either 2. Now, this is because of not doing the first step, that is the knowledge, the revision part, correctly. Now, if you would have done that particular part correctly, there is no point in making any mistake in this particular question. A similar question can be seen here. Ball guard 1 and ball guard 2. Now again, these are fundamental questions. Ball guard 1 and ball guard 2. If you are talking about the success story of GM crops in India, you would know that in India only one particular GM crop is allowed, that is BT cotton. And the success story of BT cotton is seen in the states of Maharashtra, is seen in the states of Gujarat, right? You would see where the cotton productivity has doubled, roughly around 540. And the question is linked to that. Everybody who is preparing seriously for UPSC would know what is GM crop, would know what is BT cotton. But in the examination hall, with the presumption of UPSC being deceptive, what you have done is you have marked this particular question wrong. It is very simple question. It is developing genetically modified crops. But with the assumption of UPSC is deceiving me, most of them have marked clonal propagation of crop plants. This is on the basis of the market survey. This is on the basis of the knowledge that has been acquired from some of my friends, right? Now, this is another such question. Sugarcane least water efficient, right? Now, from all these questions, you need to understand that prelims you need to understand that the game of prelims is the art of elimination. It is in the art of elimination. You have to remember that UPSC prelims is not about answering the question. Answering the question, the business of answering the question is in your UPSC mains. But in UPSC prelims, the answer is in front of your eyes. You just need to do what? You need to eliminate the wrong option. Now if you take this question, last two are millets. Automatically if it is a millet, it is a drought crop. It is less water consuming crop. So automatically I will eliminate. Now here what am I doing? I am not answering the question, but I am eliminating the wrong options. Now if you have to master this art of elimination, now trust me, out of 100 questions in your prelims, on your knowledge basis, you would get 30. You would know directly around 30 questions. The rest 60 questions are to be solved by using this art of elimination. Now this art of elimination can be through experience, can be through knowledge, or it can be through certain techniques. Now in order to master this particular technique of elimination, and in order to succeed in your prelims examination, me and Vishnu sir have come up with a solid strategy to enable you to success in UPSC prelims examination. And that particular or the further details upon this particular strategy or the further details upon these particular changing dynamics of UPSC or changing dynamics of UPSC prelims will be discussed in a detailed orientation session that is going to be held on Jan 31st. And with grit, conviction and honesty, we state that if you have to be in the list of mains examination, it is a bucket list, it is a must-do list for you to attend this particular orientation session. And you would see there is a phenomenal change with respect to your confidence levels as well as with respect to your strategy in clearing this particular examination. Thank you.